Thank you for organizing this and for the introduction, and thanks to all of you for taking a little time out of your day to come to this intro and maybe learn a little bit more about what R can do for your work and your organization. This is what I'm calling the intro to R, because R is a really big thing. There's a lot to cover, a lot to unpackage. And the workshop that we're going to do in April is going to be an introduction to some of the more useful pieces of R for doing water and landscape and ecological analysis. And today we've got about 20 minutes. So really all I can do is try to teach you a little bit about what R is capable of and why you should be interested in it, and cover what we're going to do in the training, and hopefully encourage you to join us on April 11th. So again, Sean introduced me. I'm from River Network. If you're not familiar with us, we're a national nonprofit. We're dedicated to improving the capacities, the capabilities of groups like yourselves on the ground who are doing the real work. And so we've got folks that specialize in leadership development, capacity building, fundraising, and we've got a science and policy team as well that helps to organize issues around the Clean Water Act, policy initiatives. And about 2 years ago, we added a science program. Myself, that's when I joined. And so we're rapidly trying to build up our science courses and science capabilities to help the groups on the ground who are trying to do some monitoring and really learn more about their watersheds and the best ways to protect them. We are a membership-based organization. Membership gives you some discounts to webinars throughout the years, discount at our National River Rally, discounts to various services, insurance programs, access to fundraising guidance, and a wealth of other things. The membership benefits are always kind of changing and being added to. And I will note that Sean and I are working on trying to get blanket membership for a trial period of 1 year for all of the Oregon councils beginning next year. So stay tuned. We're working on trying to arrange that for all of you. Our next River Rally is coming up May 8th to the 11th in Grand Rapids, Michigan. If you have never been to a River Rally, I highly recommend it. I've only been working for River Network for 2 years, but this will be my 12th River Rally. Once I got dragged to the first one, I made sure to go back every year because it was incredibly worthwhile and useful for me. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. Today we're going to talk about what's going to happen on the 11th, figure out a little bit about your R background, talk to you about what exactly is R and what it can do for you. So we probably won't be able to cover too much more than that in 20 minutes. On the half-day workshop in April, if you're able to join us, we're going to cover the whole kind of startup, downloading it, getting it installed on your computer, how to go out and find data sets, some of the initial scripts and packages that are useful, a lot of the shortcuts and tips that I've learned over the years, just having to teach myself on ways to make this not as complicated, not like just straight coding and typing, but using some of the resources that have been developed out there that make this a little more approachable and a little easier for folks to dig into and start to learn on their own. What I can't do is teach Statistics 101. I myself know only enough statistics to be pretty dangerous and wouldn't consider myself capable of teaching it. I'm not going to be scaring anyone with obscure coding and tech speak. I try to break things down to be as manageable and as digestible as possible. I'm not going to be teaching you things that you can't use. Everything that I've taught myself is because it came out of a practical need to do watershed analysis. And I'm not going to be very helpful if you have a Mac and we're running into problems. I've been in trainings before when I was teaching R with groups, and there were a few users in the room that had Macintosh computers, and they were running into problems that I had never encountered. So I will give you that caveat. If you have a Mac, be prepared for me to be not as helpful as you would hope for me to be. So a little bit about the April 11th training. It's going to be in Redmond, Oregon, a nominal $25 fee, just include lunch and coffee and tea. It's being organized by the Oregon Conservation Partnership, hosted by the Middle Deschutes Watershed Council, and the funding that I have to support this, these efforts comes from the Murdoch Charitable Trust. If you are interested in still registering for the training, we have registration open for a few more days after this intro, and then that'll close up. And I do encourage everyone, if you're capable of getting out there, it'll be a nice hands-on session, and you should be able to leave with some pretty practical skills to go back with. So I'm going to have Sean bring up the first poll, and this is really to just get an understanding of what everyone's background and experience is using R on the phone. I've definitely, let's see. I think she's pulling open the poll now, so if you guys can go ahead and indicate. A, you've never heard of it. B, you've heard of it. You may have downloaded it once and looked at it and so this looks scary. You may have used it before and you just want to learn more, or maybe you're a pretty advanced user and you're here to see if I can show you some things that you haven't run into before.
Okay, it looks like 40% have never heard of it, 50% have heard of it, and only 10% have used it before and want to learn more.
Okay. So that sounds like we're definitely on the intro, beginning background, a level of experience, and that's a great place to start because I usually consider that's where I'm most effective, is kind of reducing the fear associated with getting started with something like R and why you would go ahead and use it. So what is R? At its most basic, it's a program language, and don't leave or close the computer at that. I don't myself know really any other program languages, and never thought I would take the time to learn one. But R is very useful and user friendly, and so it's a lot more than a program language as well. It's used for statistics and data management, data visualization, data sharing, but it's amazing what's being developed using R. It's becoming a lot more than just a way to do some basic statistics and some graphing. So why should you be interested in it? It's open source, meaning it's free. Previously, if you've had to do statistics in your office, you may have had to buy an SPSS or a SAS license. And those licenses can get expensive, and if you've got more than one person in the office that may need to use it, then that can get complicated. R is community driven. It's completely developed by the open source community, and thousands of packages that can do various different things have been contributed. So it's ever growing, it's forever being updated and becoming more useful. It's very customizable. The fact that it's open source means that it's wide open. So if you get to the point where you start to move beyond some of the built-in features of R, you can really use this to do just about anything you want. And for that reason, I think it's become the real industry standard. USGS, EPA, universities, research consortiums, pretty much everyone is doing all of their complicated data management and data analysis using R these days, and they're building some really, really great tools for the groups on the ground, for the watershed users who want to access data and be able to analyze it and show those results on their website. It's completely capable of interacting with GIS and websites, and it can be really easy to use once you get past a little bit of the initial steps in the learning curve. The graph down there at the bottom right, that's an example of one I produced before using R. And the reason I show this one is because if you try to build graphs in say, Excel, which is kind of your option before you go to a program, building charts in Excel can be really complicated and annoying, and they never seem to work the same way twice, and they break easily. Where a graph like this I could generate in just a couple of minutes, and it allows me to show many things. So this chart is a plot of dissolved phosphorus concentrations along a river's length over the course of a season. And what we kind of looked at when we saw this is you see those green dots start getting larger. We just, as the algae blooms grow, the size of the dots is the amount of algae. They were stripping dissolved phosphorus out of the water columns. That helped us realize that those algae were being driven by dissolved phosphorus with limiting nutrients. And so if we control phosphorus, we probably control the blooms. And that wasn't able to be detected until we could put that on a chart. It just didn't stand out to us. So how does it work? You have your data. You might have it in Excel or text files. It may live on an online database. It may live in Storette on the EPA's online data storage portal. R is able to bring in data in a variety of ways and forms, and then you call up any number of those user-contributed packages that do different things. A package might help you make plots, or it might help you run a linear regression, or do something infinitely more complicated. But what it spits out are products like charts and analysis results, and it can spit out results directly to websites as well. So there's a variety of, but that's the basic gist of it. You put data in, you call up a package, and you tell that package what to do to get your results out. So why should you be interested? The reason I use this and have used it in the past is the scripts that I build once that help me do the analysis I can save and forever use in future work. And so if you're doing something like producing annual report cards, doing the analysis for the next year's report card could be as simple as cutting and pasting last year's scripts, and it'll spit out all the results exactly as you had them last year because none of your things changed except for the data that you put in. And so you can batch process really high quality custom charts, make it exactly the way you want it to look, and with a click of a button, spit out hundreds of them really quickly. R allows you to build a website data interface. So a lot of groups that I work with, they've got their data, they've been collecting it for years, and they're having trouble telling their story. They want to get their data and their results out to the public, to their local constituents, and a lot of times that means trying to get it onto their website. R allows folks to actually build a website data interface and allow people to come to your website and maybe select a point or a watershed of interest, a parameter of interest, a time period, and produce graphs right on your website that answer the questions that they were looking for. And all of that can be done with some pretty easy scripts and packages. And lastly, if you start to build familiarity with R, it's going to really help you access and use the tools that are being developed by various federal agencies, universities, organizations, and partnerships, like the National Water Quality Monitoring Council, EPA, USGS. All of them have built R tools that help you access their data and analyze it in the same way that they do. So this is what you get when you first download R, and I had to teach myself R to get out of grad school. The analysis that I needed to do in my thesis wasn't able to be accomplished by Excel or SPSS, and I just learned R, and I had to teach myself to be able to finish grad school and get out of there. Well, the first day I downloaded it, this is what it spit out to me. There's this little box with a blinking bar, and that can be really scary looking. It's obviously just waiting for you to do something, to type in some command, and you don't know what to do. And so it can be a little bit of a learning curve to get above this first step into learning it. On the left are some of the kind of scripts that end up being written into R, and it can be as simple as that one right there. It says plot X versus Y, and this is the name of data, and it would simply do that for you. So they can be pretty simple to write, but I'm going to show you ways that you don't actually have to write scripts. Some graphical user interfaces, or GUIs, have been developed that sit on top of R and really take a lot of the initial learning curve out of it and help you generate those scripts, that coding, by simply clicking the buttons and selecting the types of analyses and loading up the data that you want to use. And so these have really made it easy to start learning R, and they generate the code for you just by clicking the buttons and selecting the options that you want. So there's a couple of these out there. There's one called R Commander and R and Friends, and that's a picture of R Commander there. And it allows you to do some simple statistics and generate some charts, but it's really going to generate like the baseline information. But once you have that, then it's really easy to go in and start customizing the script that works, that it already put together for you. So it's a great way to get started. RStudio is another one. That's the GUI that I tend to use the most these days. And RStudio actually cooperates with R Commander now. And it just makes getting data into the console and managing your outputs and all your graphs really, really easy, and the ability to update packages. It's just a really great little graphical user interface that sits on top. And so you can do things like basic statistics just by clicking. I mean, I think this looks very much like an SPSS or a SAS if you guys have used that before. Just clicking around and selecting the statistics that you want. So that's accomplished very easily using those graphical user interfaces. And these are examples of the types of plots that it would spit out if you simply just select the basic box plot that's built in. It's going to be black and white. It's not going to be very colorful, and it hasn't been customized yet to look the way you want. But it's really easy once it gives you this to go in and start making your little modifications in your edits to add titles, add colors, change the appearance, and add labels and things like that. ggplots2 is a package that I will definitely cover during the training because it's really kind of become the standard way of doing plots now in R. It's just a really well-written package, really, really super capable of plotting a variety of different types of data in different ways, and it has some built-in functions like natural color ramps that help people make charts that look good both in color and black and white, or colors that work well for those that have color blindness or sensitivities. And the documentation on using this one is really, really top-notch, and there's some great websites that support how to use the ggplots2 package for doing charting. And I will say that some of this may seem a little bit crazy, but I've done this webinar before in an hour and a half and had folks do the install, do data downloads, and produce charts within an hour and a half. So the fact that we've got 4 hours on April 11th, we should be able to get pretty far and have people leaving, ideally, with some analyzed data from their watershed in Oregon. So that's the plan for the training in April. OrShiny is another package that I'm going to be talking about in the April 11th training, because a lot of groups really seek ways to get their data interactive and visualizations on their website, and OrShiny is the package that is used to do that. Pretty simple as far as the scripts and the language to get this going, and you'll notice in a second OrShiny has been incorporated into some of the tools that have been built by USGS, EPA, and others. When you come to the training, I'm going to be giving everyone some downloads of all of the resources that I've been able to catalog, really good online YouTube training videos, cheat sheets, everything that I've basically found to be useful over the years. I basically just give everyone all these resources. And stay tuned, if you're not able to attend the training, a lot of these resources are going up on our River Network website as we continue to develop and flesh out our science resources. I mentioned some of the tools that some of the federal agencies and university partners have been building for R. One big one is the Water Quality Portal Data Discovery Tool. So everyone hears that there's these big online databases that all the states, the federal agencies are contributing data to. And I hear from folks all the time, it's really hard to use, it's not fun to try to get your data into it. And what's the reason? It just seems to go there and nothing comes back out. Well, we're starting to see a lot of things be built on the fact that STORAT and the Water Quality Exchange exist, and they're starting to build tools to get that data back out. So the Data Discovery Tool is one of them, and it combines some of my favorite pieces of R. So it shows you, it automatically retrieves the data, it helps you do the analysis, it uses ggplots2, and it uses OrShiny to help groups pull data off the online portals, analyze it, make attractive charts, and generate the code that they would need to embed those charts in their website. So it's a really great little standalone package, and they're apparently redeveloping that. It's in beta version right now for the second one. So it may not be worthwhile to try to teach you guys that one during the training since the new version is coming out. So that might be something we revisit next year. The USGS has a tremendous number of resources for R and for implementing a lot of the analysis and using the data that they've collected online. They've got a GitHub site and a couple other websites where they've put all of their material online with trainings and resources on how to use it. Quasi is an international research consortium. Again, they've got an online portal, and they've built our tools to help you pull the data out of their portals, do the analysis, and produce high-quality charts. So there's just, and all of these things seem to have just erupted in the last year or two. So there's just so much that's being developed using R, and with the idea of trying to build tools for the folks on the ground to use. So I'm really happy to have discovered some of these things and look forward to seeing more of them come out. For April 11th, so now we've covered pretty quickly some of the things that R can do. For those of you that register for the training, I'm going to be sending out some questionnaires, trying to get a little more information for you guys so that we can plan those 4 hours most effectively and try to know exactly in which pieces of these are most attractive to you, most interesting, and where you would like us to focus. And so just start thinking about some of these questions, and again, if you register, you'll be hearing from me so I can get a little more of this information from you. But just in general, which of these aspects might be most useful and attractive to you folks that want to learn this. So just taking you through basic analysis of water data. We can spend most of our time just doing that. I can show you guys how to use it to access and analyze data from the big federal portals. For those of you that have tried to use R before and maybe have run into some problems, we could spend some time troubleshooting. I would like to spend some time teaching folks how to use ggplots to make custom graphs for your science communication. If there are any other specific packages that you guys had interest in, you could let me know about those, and we might be able to spend some time working through them. And of course, I'll be sharing already all the great R resources on the web. And last we could look at R Shiny and building a web data interface for your website. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Those are some of the big functions that R does for folks. And if one of those would be more interest to others, and it may be we want to focus on that number one, stepping through doing the basic analysis of water, getting used to the R environment and how it works, how the scripts get written. We could easily spend 4 hours just doing that. So it'll be helpful for me to know how best to organize the training on the 11th. So if you guys were interested in what you saw today, please do register for that. If you do, register for April 11th if you haven't already. Again, I'm going to send out the request for more information, so please respond to that. As part of that, I'll be sending out some download instructions for how to get R installed and ready, hopefully before class. And if you run into any troubles with that, to contact me ahead of time for troubleshooting. But the idea being that when we all meet in Redmond on April 11th, we can sit down and start really working with some actual Oregon data sets that I'm in the process of pulling right now, so that we can work with some real data on the ground as an example and show you guys how this can do some good analysis for you. And if you can't attend on April 11th, please do feel free to contact me for more information. My email is on the next screen. Please do stay tuned to the River Network website. All the our resources and trainings that I've been organizing and finding, they're going to go up on the website in the next few weeks. And then additionally, there will be some trainings that I like on Coursera and YouTube, and those are some great places, recorded college classes and things like that, to learn on your own. So I'll be sharing some of those with you as well. And that's it for this short coffee break webinar. So I think if anyone has any additional questions at this time or regarding R, something you'd like me to talk a little bit more about, now's the time for that. So hopefully this has been helpful.
Wonderful, Adam. Thank you so much. We'll wait just a second and see if there are any questions. I have a question. Maybe I can ask that first while people are forming theirs. As I look at this, for those of us who have been in our careers for a long time, there's always like the next thing we have to learn, the next thing that's come along. And I'm just wondering, if we don't learn R in this business, are we going to be left in the dust? I mean, is this really it, do you think?
It's been around for a number of years and shows no signs of slowing down or losing its grasp on doing analysis of data. So you may not be left behind, but you probably won't be the person that's doing the analysis. It really has quickly become the industry standard. So, I mean, if you're not somebody that has to work with data or has questions about data and wants to be able to analyze it, then it's not going to be useful for you. But if those are things that you want to do and want to learn how to do better, then I would say that R is definitely your best option for doing analysis.
And that's for people doing social science as well as biological science, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is not a program, for the biological sciences. R is used extensively throughout almost any of the sciences, social sciences as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that you said yesterday that I thought was really interesting was how good R is for graphics. And you use the word data visualization. That just means presenting your data in an interesting way to an audience. Sort of, it's where the world of graphic arts comes together with science, right? And so I've used SPSS, the statistical software package for social sciences, and it's pretty dry, and the graphics are pretty basic. But you're saying that R is really much more artistic.
Yeah, there's literally nothing about the chart window itself that you can't manipulate and change, and you can immediately see your results. Often you can immediately see how something you typed ended up not working and make the chart break as well. But it really is completely customizable and generates very high quality graphics as well. And so if you look at your average peer-reviewed journal information, I would say almost 90% of what you see out there these days are charts that have been generated using R. And I can take a look at them and say that's an R chart or that's a MATLAB chart. But R is pretty much, I bet it's about 90% of what's out there, and just because it's useful and capable.
Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. Adam, thank you. Oh, no, there is one. I have one from Paul. Paul's wanting to know if R is used with weather data and soil moisture data typically, or only for water quality data?
No, it absolutely can be. It really doesn't care what kind of data is in the box. So it's absolutely up to you, the types of statistics, the types of comparisons, the types of data that you want to analyze. It by no means is only for water data, and I would say that probably the water community was a little late in getting to the world of R compared to some of the others that are out there. And I would say that for folks interested in things like soil moisture data, agricultural croplands, USDA and other organizations like that, they're using R as well. So you might find a number of tools, SWOT models, things like that are built using R.
Wonderful, thank you. And Paul, I just unmuted you. Did that answer your question? You might be on self-mute there. Okay, I'll assume unless I hear, oh yes, thank you. Okay, very good. All right, any other questions before we let Adam go back to his Appalachian Trail behind his cabin there? Are you skiing or hiking on the Appalachian Trail behind your cabin, Adam?
Yeah, I live there. It's shameful how infrequently I actually get on the trail these days.
All right. So we'll look forward to seeing some of you on the 11th. Thank you to the Middle Deschutes Watershed Council for hosting this session on April 11, and I hope this is useful even if you can't come to that session. If you have more questions, by all means get in touch with us at the network. We'll forward them to Adam if you didn't catch his email address. And we'll keep on doing these coffee break webinars. Thank you everyone for joining. Adam, you rock. Thank you so much. I think we'll end it here. I'll stop the recording and go ahead.